Hey, Pokedad Fan Club, it's me, Pokedad, and today we're going to do the set review for Guardians Rising. It was just recent. Islands Waiting for You and Moonlight of Alola leaked in Japan, and it's now in Japan. This is going to be our Guardians Rising set, along with some of the cards from the Strength Expansioning Pack. We'll take a look at those toward the end of the video. But get into these real quick and start talking about some of these Pokemon. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to try to go faster than normal, and I'm going to say either give you a buy, a hold, a sell, or a bulk. If it's a card that goes to bulk, it just throw it in your bulk box, and then when you get enough of bulk cards, you can get some free booster boxes. And a lot of the cards are like that. Hold is one that may not be good right now in the format, but could potentially see play down the road. So it's something you may want to hold on to. If it's kind of inexpensive, go ahead and get it now and hold it. A buy is a card that is just something you need to get. It's going to be seeing play immediately, and it's just something you need to buy. And then sell or trade is a card that I think other people are overvaluing, and it's not going to be as good as it should be, as people would think it will be. And so you should try to sell it for high value now and get something of good value for it, instead of waiting for everybody to find out, oh, it's not that good, and it not being as valuable. All right. So with that, without further ado, we're going to get right into these. I'm not going to go through like the basics and the stage ones, especially unless they have like an ability or something special about them. Um, so we're going to get right into this. The first one is Victory Bell. 140 HP grass Pokemon. Of course, it can use the Forest of Giant Plants, so you could potentially see this attacking on turn one. But however, I still think it's going to go to your bulk box. If you get this card, just put it in bulk. Pollen Hazard does 20 damage for a grass, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned, burned, and confused. And then for a grass and a double color, Stick and Absorb does 80 damage, and then heal 20 damage from this Pokemon. Your opponent's active Pokemon can't retreat during their next turn. It's kind of, you could potentially lock them up and then just let the poison and the burn keep hurting them. But it's just, with all the ways we can switch and Olympia and Escape Rope and all those right now, um, I don't see why you'd want to play this. Um, I think it's just going to go to bulk. So I'm not going to say any more about it. I could see someone potentially using some kind of lock deck and using that to lock their opponent down. And it could be very annoying, but at best it's going to be just a casual fun thing. Lilligant is another one that's bulk. I really don't even want to spend the time. Basically does 10 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon for a colorless, and then Petal Dance, flip 3 coins, the attack does 40 damage times the number of heads, and then this Pokemon is now confused. Not really worth it. Golisopod, so that's going to be bulk for Lilligant. Golisopod ability is armor. Damage done to this Pokemon by attacks is reduced by 30. So it's effectively 160 HP, um, which might be good. Uh, Resolute Call for a grass and a double colorless, 80 damage. And if your opponent's Pokemon is a Pokemon GX or EX, this attack does another 70. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I think this is probably a hold. Um, I don't know that it's going to see a lot of play. It is a stage one, and with Force of Giant Plants, it could see play. Um, it it's only a 2 energy attachment to get it going, and it does have the ability, so it's effectively 160 HP, and you're potentially hitting for 150 damage. Throw in Choice Band, and now it's 180. So you're one-shotting stuff like Volcanion, Evil as long as they don't have fighting fury belts. This guy is one-shotting them. So it could potentially see play, but I don't know. I just think a stage one with two energy attachments, they're gonna see it before you get it ready, and they're just gonna Lysander it up and take it out. Now it is kind of bulky, so I don't know. Maybe it holds, but more likely bulk is what I'm thinking. All right, we go back to Victini. This will definitely see some play, and this is probably a buy card, a card that you should probably have in your arsenal. Oop, I went a little too far there. Let me go back up. Victory Star has seen play in the past, though. It's an ability. Once during your turn, after you flip any coins for an attack, you may ignore what the outcome of those coin flips and then flip them again. I don't know of anything right now that's particularly using coin flips, but I'm sure there's something down the road that will be using this coin flips on the attack, and Victini can be very useful. So it's probably a buy. I would get a couple of these. Probably don't need more than maybe two. But yeah. Another one that I would say is a definite buy is Turtonator GX. It's got 190 HP. It is a fire type, and it's got, for a double colorless, Trap Shell does 20 damage. If this Pokemon is damaged by an attack during your opponent's next turn, place 8 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. That's just crazy. You do 20 damage to them, and then if they decide to hit you back, they're going to take 80 more. You're doing 100 for a double colorless, in essence. Crimson Flame, 2 fire and a colorless, does 160 damage, and then discard 2 energy attached to this Pokemon. But wait, don't we have something called Baby Volcanion that can put energies back on? Um, this is going to be really good. It could even be teamed up with maybe Lurantis. You could potentially see a Lurantis Turtonator deck, and Turtonator would hit the stuff that's fire weak, Lurantis would hit the stuff that's grass weak, and you would constantly just be getting energy back. It's just, I think it's really cool. And then also it has an attack, Nitro Tank, which does attach 5 um, fire energies from your discard pile back to your Pokemon in any way you like anyway. So again, you could just use it to get the fire energy back. You know, it's pretty cool. All right, let's keep moving. So yeah, Turtonator is definitely a buy. I think you'll see it as a one-of in Volcanion. So if nothing else, if you play Volcanion, you should probably add that to your deck. Alolan Sandshrew and Alolan Sandslash. I think this is probably a buy. The ability Snow Shovel. Once during your turn before you attack, you may draw 1 card. Um, Obviously, I think stuff like Octillery and maybe Oranguru are better, but there are some cases where you got large hands anyway, and you want to just continue to draw uh, a card. And so I think this will see some play. One of the things I remember is Toadpuff, where um, Slurpuff and Seismitoad were together, and Slurpuff would just keep drawing cards for Seismitoad, and I mean, they'd have 2 or 3 of them on the bench and just drawing 3 cards every turn. So, um, I think this Alolan Sandslash will see, definitely see some play. Alolan Vulpix and Alolan Ninetales GX. This is a card that I think a lot of people are underestimating. And I think a lot of people are thinking this card's not going to ever see any play. However, in the next set, there's going to be an Alolan Ninetales that's not a GX. It's just a normal Alolan Ninetales that also evolves from Alolan Vulpix. And this card is a card you are going to, I think, this can be a deck in itself. Alolan Vulpix with Alolan Ninetales GX and Alolan Ninetales. Now, I don't know that this card will see play. Alolan Ninetales GX will see play right now, so I'm putting it as a hold. But I do think you should consider getting some and holding them, especially if they're very low in value right now because people aren't valuing them. Go grab some of these and hold them for after the format or after the next set comes out. Because what you're going to have is you're going to have a Alolan Ninetales GX and then a Alolan Ninetales. And Alolan Ninetales has an ability that says no GXs or EXs can hurt it. So if you're playing against a GX or EX deck, you use the Alolan Ninetales without the GX. And then if you play against a non-EX deck, or this guy can be kind of like your finisher, Alolan Ninetales GX. Ice Blade does 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. No big deal, double colorless. It's not a big deal, but can kind of finish off a bench Pokemon that has damage on it already. Blizzard's Edge. Water colorless, does 160 damage. With Choice Band, you're now at 190. Throw a Kukui in there, and you're doing 210 damage. Discard 2 energies attached to this Pokemon. Now that would be problematic for water, except that in this set we are getting Aqua Patch, which we'll talk about later, which will allow you to get water back onto your Pokemon. And I will say that is a buy card too. Aqua Patch, if you haven't already figured it out, that is a buy card. And we'll look at that a little bit more later. Cleargate GX, move all damage counters from this Pokemon to your opponent's active Pokemon. That's just insane. I mean, seriously, for a double colorless, they hit you for, 150, and then you just put them all back. It's like getting a max potion as well as, but you don't have to lose your energy, as well as doing a big attack to them. It's kind of like how Mega Mewtwo uses Shrine of Memories and uses damage change. But in this case, if they've already got some damage on there and you add it on with your damage and knock them out, so be it. So I think Alolan Ninetales is probably getting underrated, and I think this is a card you should hold on to if you get it. And if it's relatively low priced, I would go ahead and buy some. Delibird, I don't even know if it's worth spending the time. That's going to just be bulk. Snorunt and Glalie. With Aqua Patch, this could see potential play. I now realize why most water cards have, like, you have to have all water energies, because they knew they were going to make Aqua Patch. Raging Ice Ball does 70 damage for 3 waters, and if this Pokemon has any damage counters on it, this attack does 80 more damage. But it's only 120 stage 1. It's going to get knocked out pretty easy. I just don't see Glalie being much use in the format, so I'm marking it as bulk. Just put it in your bulk. Alright. Vanillite, Vanillish, Vanillux. Again, I don't see this card seeing much play. I think this is probably going to be a bulk card also. Frozen Breath does 80 damage. You can discard 2 water energies, and if you do, your opponent's Pokemon is now paralyzed. And of course, you could use Aqua Patch to get the energies back on, and you could continually try to lock them. But eventually, you're going to run out of Aqua Patch, and you can only attach 1 energy per turn anyway. So I just don't think it's going to see any play. I think it's just going to go bulk. So we'll move on. Helioptile and Heliolisk, Thundershock. Quick attack does 20 damage. Flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 20 more damage. Nothing special. And lightning and double colorless. Raging Thunder, 120 damage in this attack. Does 30 damage to one of your benched Pokemon. It does 30 damage to one of your benched Pokemon, and then it's only 100 HP, and you're gonna commit 3 energies to it. I don't think so. It's bulk. Moving right on. Tapu Koko GX. This is very, very similar to Dragonite EX from, oh, what was it? Before Phantom Forces was Furious Fists. Tapu Koko is very similar in that it has an ability, Aereo Trail. Once during your turn before you attack, when you play this card from your hand onto your bench, you may move any number of lightning energy attached to your Pokemon to this Pokemon. If you move any energy, switch this Pokemon with your active Pokemon. And then for a lightning colorless does 130 damage. So it could be similar to the Dragonite where you could kind of keep a Tapu Koko and then bring in the other one, max potion the other one, this one, and you could kind of just keep putting them down and kind of max potioning them. However, we don't really have any way to bring them back up like AZ or Super Scoop Up or anything like that. And Dragonite really didn't see much play, and it's very, very similar. Um, the GX attack does 50 damage times the number of energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon, which is, against something like Turbo Darkrai or Mega Gardevoir that has a lot of energy in play. That could be good because, you could knock out an EX or a Mega very easily, but you only get to do that one time and then it's done. So I'm going to tell you that this, I think, is a sell or a trade card. If you get it, trade it. That's what I'm thinking. Trade it for something better. Alright, moving right along. We're making some pretty good progress here. Slowpoke and Slowbro, Amnesia and Endeavor. Nothing there. Bulk. That's going to just... Don't even worry about that. Gothita, Gothitelle, and Gothorita. Blow Kiss, place one damage counter on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Wow, that's really a lot there. Um, yeah, if I can get my computer to keep moving. Alright, Gothorita, Psybeam, 30 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. Gothitelle is a Psychic, 140 HP. Tractor Beam, choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon and switch it out with an opponent's active Pokemon and then do 30 damage to that. I don't know, that's kind of cool. It's kind of like a Lysander and then you get to do damage. Link Blast is similar to Gardevoir from Steam Siege, 50 damage if this Pokemon and your opponent's active Pokemon have the same amount of energy attached to them. This attack does 80 more damage. But it's still bulk. Don't worry about investing in that. Alright, Machop and Machoke and Machamp. Alright, Machoke is going to be a definite buy. Just because Decidueye is such a big deal right now. Intimidating Stance is the ability all damage and placement of damage counters from your opponent's attacks and abilities to your bench Pokemon. This could even potentially see play in Expanded, maybe, because Trevenant Break. This could stop Trevenant Break's attack from doing damage to your bench Pokemon. But there's already a Bronzong that's similar to that. So I don't know that that's really necessary. But this will definitely come into play right now against Decidueye. Decidueye GX is a big deck. I love the card, to be honest with you. I love the deck, Decidueye Vileplume. But if you don't like it, this is a card that can help you. So, you probably want to grab this. However, if Decidueye just Lysanders and knocks you out uh, with a Feather Arrow followed by a Razor Leaf, then you're back to square one. So, but it is a card that I probably would get, maybe one or two of. Of course, you need to get the Machop if you're going to get that, unless you want to try to max these it in, but that's really hard to do in Standard. And Machamp, I just don't see this as being settle score 20 damage, does 80 more damage for each prize card your opponent took during their last turn. If you're playing a fighting deck and you're playing this anyway, it might be useful to add the Machop just because, you could potentially use settle score to, hits for some damage, depending on how many prizes they took last turn. But I don't think so. Nose Pass, that's bulk. Barboach and Whiscash are actually normally a water Pokemon, but in this set, a fighting Pokemon. Barboach isn't really anything special. Whiscash has 130 HP. Fighting double colorless water pulse does 60 damage, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. For fighting and triple colorless landslide, 100 times damage. Discard 3 cards from the top of your deck. The attack does 100 damage times the number of energy discarded. I don't see why you would even play that. So that's going to be bulk. Probopass goes along with Nose Pass. Bulk. Clefairy, Follow Me, and Clefable. Again, bulk. Drampa, the dragon form. Oh, I'm sorry. Comfy is a fairy, 70 HP. This will see play, and I think you should probably buy 1 or 2 of these. They're probably not going to be very expensive. Flower Shield, as long as this Pokemon is in play, each of your Pokemon with any fairy energy attached to it can't be affected by special conditions. And remove all special conditions already on those. I see that there's potential for special conditions becoming a more stable part of the meta. Maybe not right now at this moment, but down the road. And so I think Comfy is going to be really good to have in your fairy decks. If you're playing Rainbow Energy, it could be something you could add also. So it might be something that you want to pick up a couple of. If you get them, hold them. I would probably hold on to those. Drampa, Dragon type. Now the cool thing about this is he's all colorless, so there's no special. You can still use Dragon Energy, Double Dragon, but for any color, search your deck for basic energy and attach it to this Pokemon. Okay, nothing special there. Power Cyclone for 3 colorless does 80 damage, moving energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. I don't think it's going to see play. I think it's going to go in bulk. Jangmeo Moo or ability Shell, damage done to this Pokemon's by attacks is reduced by 10, so it effectively has a 70 HP. And then Hakemoo evolves from Jangmo-o, and then Komo-o GX. And I think I've heard most people say this is probably the worst GX out of the set. And I think I would tend to agree. Adamantine Press, it's a stage 2, 240 HP. That is pretty bulky. That's massive. 30 damage. During your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks. Shred does 130 damage, and it's not affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So it could go through Glaceon EX. And then Fierce Uppercut GX does 240 damage, and that's it. So, I mean, it could take one hit KO there, but I just think to get it powered up and to get get it into play, it's just too much. So, if you get this card, sell it or trade it. All right. Computer stalling a little bit again. All right, we got Chauncey and Blitzy. And I don't know how I feel about this card. I think I want to put this as a hold, to be honest with you. Because I could see this, I think this is one of those cards that could be used creatively, but I don't know what deck it would go in right at this moment. This ability, Farm Fresh Eggs, once during your turn before you attack, when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may heal 80 damage from your active Pokemon. Now that's pretty cool. I mean, if you could use, you had 2 or 3 on the bench, and then you evolve, and then Devolution Spray, and then evolve another one. I mean, you could literally heal yourself back up. And it's only a stage 1, so it could be something that you could see play. And furthermore, it's a colorless, so it could be played in any deck that uses double colorless. And Double Edge does 160 damage. Now, granted, you're doing 80 to yourself, but I could even see this potentially seeing play. I I don't know where yet though, and it's probably not going to be used. But for right now, I think this should be a hold. Chauncey and Blitzy are a hold. Go ahead and get a couple. They're probably not going to be very expensive anyway. But you never can tell where they might make it into an interesting deck. All right, we got Talo and Swellow. Um, Talo is just the basic. It's not going to, if you do get it, it's just going to be to evolve into Swellow. Swellow has agility, 20 damage, flip a coin if heads, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage. And then Swallow Dive, 40 damage. If this Pokemon used agility, it does 80 more damage. That's kind of cool. You're doing 120 damage for one colorless energy, assuming that your agility worked last time. But it's still so, you just have to be really lucky to use this. Now, Kamala. I think Swallow's bulk. I think Kamala's bulk too. Certain sleep. If this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, when you attach energy from your hand to this Pokemon is now asleep. Ooh, you get to put your own Pokemon to sleep. That's great. Hypno Roll for 3 colorless does 100 damage, and this attack can only be done if the Pokemon is asleep. So if you're not asleep, you're gonna do nothing. Why would you do this? I mean, really, why? Why Pokemon? Why would someone want this card? Please tell me that's not a rare. But I bet you it is. Anyway, bulk, guys, bulk. All right, now we're into the item cards, and I'm going to just tell you my philosophy on items, even if they really stink. Go ahead and get a play set of them. The reason is because you never know when something might work in a deck, and you hadn't really thought about it, and then you're like, oh, I got that card, let's see how that works. So some of these may not be very good. I'm going to try to highlight the ones that I definitely know you should get, but if you can afford it, get a playset of all of them. All right, Energy Lotto. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. If there's an energy card there, you may choose it. Choose one, reveal it, and put it in your hand. Some people think that this is a bad max elixir, and in a way it is, but the thing is, it doesn't say basic energy, it just says an energy card you find there. So you can use this to get double dragons and double colorless and other special energies, rainbow energies, and put them in your hand. Never have we had a way to be able to search out special energy before. We finally have it, and to be able to look at the top 7 cards of your deck, that's pretty good. Furthermore, it's an insta-play card. It's a card that you can use right now, so that if you need to lower your hand to do a shaman or something else, you can use it right now. So I like Energy Lotto, and I think it will see play in decks kind of like Vespiquen, where they only play in 4 double colorless. Maybe play 1 or 2 of these so you can grab that double colorless. See if you can find that double color. Field Blower, guys, go get this card. It is going to see play. People have been so happy that this card has come out. Choose up to 2 in any combination of Pokemon tool cards and stadium cards in play, both yours and your opponent's, and discard them. Alright, Garbooter now has a way to be turned off, so other than attacks from Pokemon like Beedrill EX and Mencino, and now we have Field Blower. This card will see play. I imagine it'll be a one or a two of tech in just about every deck. So go get a play set of those. Hala, shuffle your hand into your deck. He's a supporter and draw 4 cards. If you've already used your GX attack this game, draw 7 cards instead. Decks that use the GX early, like Solgaleo GX, who's going to try to use his GX attack on turn 2, this is a card you probably should be adding in as a draw supporter. If you don't use your GX attack early, if you're a late GX attack, or you save it for to kind of close the game out, then this is a supporter you don't want. But like I said before, any trainer cards probably you should get, and I recommend probably getting this guy. If you can get a play set, get a play set of this guy. Ether Paradise Conservation Area Trainer. Each player's basic grass and lightning Pokemon take 30 less damage from opponent's Pokemon's attack. Again, this is something that that your opponent has to allow. If you play this stadium, it's not going to ever be something that you can use on your turn. So if it goes into your opponent's turn and they can't change the stadium, then yay, you get lucky and you get to use the effect. But what are your opponent going to do? 9 times out of 10, he's going to try to dig for a stadium to get rid of that. Or he's going to use Field Blower to get rid of it. So in this case, I just don't like stadiums where we have to rely on our opponent to allow us to use the effect from them. You can get it, especially if you play grass or lightning and they're just basics. And that's the other thing, is it's basic grass. Now, if this was all grass and all lightning, that might be a different story. But since it's a basic grass and lightning, I'm thinking that this will probably not see a lot of play. However, again, it's a trainer card. I would get a couple of them. All right. Couple things before we get into Moonlight of Alola. I did want to just point out a couple cards. Max Potion is coming back into the format. I think they're making a regular card of it, but they're also making a secret rare of it. It looks pretty nice. And then that Field Blower that we talked about earlier that discards stadiums and tools, that's going to get a secret rare also. And then also Lightning is getting a secret rare. I believe Double Colorless is also getting a secret rare in this set, and one other color, I think Grass. Alright, moving right on to Moonlights of Alola. I think, this is my theory, and I may be wrong, probably will be wrong, but I think because of this Phantump and Trevenant, it's very possible that we could see a reprint of Forest of Giant Plants. Now, I know some people don't like that. They think Forest of Giant Plants is broken. What you have to realize is most grass types are typically a little bit weaker HP-wise, and their attacks usually require a lot more energy than other types. So the fact that you can use Forest to evolve them to Stage 2 right away makes them kind of gives them a little bit of edge, so that they can compete in a format where you got 180 HP EXs and things like that. So I think because of this Phantump and Trevenant, you could potentially see a Forest of Giant Plants reprint. Vileplume will be leaving the format in 6 months, and that's really the only trolley card that people don't like Forest of Giant Plants for. Nobody else worries about anything. Vespiquen doesn't even use it most of the time, and that's the only other grass deck. Decidueye would really, if it got a reprint, would see play more, but it won't have Vileplume anymore. So then you still have to play Decidueye without Vileplume, and you've got Volcanion that's gonna just run over them anyway. So, matter of fact, Vileplume is the only reason why Decidueye has a favorable matchup against Volcanion. Once you get rid of that, Volcanion will be in the format still and will make grass decks very, very tough to compete. So I think a potential Forest of Giant Plants reprint could be seen here. And here's why. Phantump and Trevenant, they made them both grass, which means that Trevenant, you can evolve the Trevenant Break, the psychic one, on turn 1, which is, if you think about that, that's pretty amazing. Trevenant, the Phantom's no big deal. We're not even going to really talk about that. But the Trevenant, I think, is a buy card. I think this is a card you need to get because Poltergeist does, for a double colorless, does 30 damage times the number of trainer cards in your opponent's hand. On average, the trainer cards represent 50% of your opponent's hand. If you run this with Vileplume and they have all these item cards in their hand and these trainer cards in their hand, you're going to be doing, you know, you could potentially, just 5 trainer cards and you're doing 156, you're doing 180. If you item lock them on turn 1 with Vileplume, Trevenant just goes crazy. And then, if you throw in the fact that you can evolve into Trevenant Break on turn 1, and you could even play a little bit of Psychic Energy, then you could use Silent Fear to do 30 damage across the board while they're item locked. So it's going to be very similar to Trevenant, how it plays in Expanded, but with Vileplume. Even if you don't use the Psychic Energy, if you just strictly use Poltergeist, you're still going to want to use the break because you're going from 120 HP to 160 HP, one prize attacker. So, do I think Trevenant is going to see play? Absolutely. I think it'll be played with Vileplume. I think it'll be played right now until Vileplume rotates. And then, I don't know how well Trevenant will be, but at least right now, I think it's a buy. And if you're going to use it now, because it may not be effective if Forest doesn't get a reprint and with Vileplume out of the format. Litwick all the way up to Chandelure. Oh, well, let's see. Lampet, we're not even going to worry about it. But here's Chandelure here. Ability Shady Move. Once during your turn before you attack, you may move 1 damage counter from either player's Pokemon to another Pokemon, yours or your opponent's. I could see this seeing some synergy with maybe Tauros GX. Super Singe does 50 damage and then your opponent's now burned. So it's really going to do 70 damage for a fire energy, and then it could potentially do even more than that if the burn stays on. But I got to just say, I don't think for stage 2, I just don't think it's enough. And so I'm putting Chandelure as bulk. Salandit and Salazzle, on the other hand, I am putting on as a buy or a hold. Potentially a buy right now. I could. The thing about it is, with the ability Hot Poison here, you could see it in a deck that doesn't even use fire just to do extra damage. Once during your turn before your attack, when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned and burned. So they're going to take 10 from poison, 20 from burn. So they're going to take 30 at least. And then, if they stay in the active, then if they continue to stay burned, they're going to take another 20 and another 10 from poison. But even if the burn goes off, they're going to take 10 back from poison. So it's going to get 30 damage to them. It's a 30 damage buff. That might just be something you throw in Choice Band on the active, and you throw in something that can hit for 150 damage or something like that, and a Kukui, and now you're doing 150 plus 30 from the Choice Band is 180, plus Kukui is 200, and then throw in this 30, and you're doing 230 damage. So this is a buff that I do think we'll see play, and I think it'll see play right away too. So I think Salazzle is a buy. I think you need to get this card um, and find out where you can use it in your deck. But I definitely think it's a good, good card to get. Flamethrower, you could power it up, 90 damage, discard a card, but mostly you want it for its ability. Tentacool and Tentacruel. Wild Tentacle does 40 damage. Flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 40 more damage. If tails, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. I think they have a card out that's already similar to this, and it doesn't see much play. So, I mean, just in fun, casual decks. So, I'm saying Tentacruel is a bulk card. Moving right along. Whelmer and Wailord. Oh, man, how I wanted this card to be good, but it's really not. Wailord has a massive 200 HP, evolves from Whelmer for water and a color double 2 water and a colorless dive, does 40 damage. Flip a coin if heads, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon. Okay. He's a beast. He doesn't really need an attack like this. What he needs is something like powerful tail, flip a coin and destroy your opponent, or something like that. But no, he gets 40 damage. And then Briny Depths, 80 damage. Each of your water Pokemon is healed by 30. Why in the world would you put 4 energy on something to do a measly 80 damage and then heal your water Pokemon by 30? I just don't see it. Uh, so, Wailord, bulk. Alamoma. Carry ashore. Choose one basic Pokemon from either your discard pile or your opponent's discard pile and play it onto the player's bench. That actually could be kind of cool. It's kind of like Target Whistle. However, it's an attack. And whenever we have an attack like that, it's kind of a waste. I mean, you could see it. I mean, it could be cool to pull someone's Shaman up, but do we really want to waste a tempo on being able to put someone's Shaman on the bench? I guess it's possible, but are you going to put this in your deck just for that one potential play that could happen maybe once every 50 games? No. So, Alamoma, bulk. Wishy-Washy. Okay. Now, in our last set, you have a Wishy-Washy 30 HP. It's got an ability that says you can pull this back to your hand at any time. I think you have to wait a turn before you can do that. But once you've waited a turn, you can pull it back to your hand, which kind of gives you like a free switch. It's kind of cool. Which is good because with Aqua Patch, you could put that thing in the active, then Aqua Patch to your bench, then pull that up, put it back in your hand, then bench it back, put whatever you just Aqua Patch to the active. And so I see synergy between that Wishy-Washy and this Wishy-Washy and Wishy-Washy GX. So let's kind of talk about all of them together, and then I'll tell you if it's a buy or a hold and tell my feelings about it. Wishy-Washy, schooling, 30 HP. Once during your turn before you attack, you may switch this Pokemon with a Wishy-Washy GX in your hand. It retains all the cards and all the damage counters and the special conditions. Sharpshooting, for a water, this attack does 10 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. It's a placeholder. I don't know that this one is going to see as much play as the other one. I think the other one's a little bit better because, like I said, you can put it in the active and then put a I mean, I can search for a Wishy-Washy GX with a Nest Ball or an Ultra Ball. So why would I need to get this Wishy-Washy so that then I can go get the other Wishy-Washy GX to switch them? It just doesn't make sense to me. And why would I don't want to start aqua patching to this 30 HP thing, because if they Lysander it up and take it out, then it's done. So I just don't think this Wishy-Washy makes much sense. But the other Wishy-Washy could potentially make sense. However, Wishy-Washy GX, is it really worth it? Let's take a look. Massive 210 HP with a Fighting Fury belt, 250 HP. It's a basic, guys. It is a basic water type. Water gun for 1 water does 20 damage. That's, well, I mean, we've seen some, we know that 30 damage is really the best you can get for 1 water, for a one, any type, whether it be like Evil Tall, Oblivion Wing, or something like that. Water gun, 20 damage. So that's a little underwhelming. But it has 210 HP. Microburst Vortex for 3 water and a double colorless does 120 damage. What? 5 energies and it does 120 damage? And you discard a special energy card attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Let me think. Lunala GX has 4 energies and does 120. This one has to have 5 to do 120. Volcanion has 3 and it does 130. 5. I mean, I guess you gotta offset the fact that it's so massive, 210 HP. But do I really want to even power this thing up? Can I even power it up before I lose the game? I don't think so. And then I'm only doing 120 HP? Like, why not Dragon Ascent like Mega Ray Dragon type? 300 damage. No, just doing 120. I think, I just don't think that's enough. Let's look at the GX attack though. Maybe we're wrong. Water, 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 color, color, colorless, colorless. Blue Surge GX, 220 damage. Move all energy attached to this Pokemon to your bench Pokemon any way you like. So you could get one charged up, use the GX attack, knock something out, and then move all your energy to your bench Pokemon. I guess I could see that. But then you gotta, I don't know, like, why? You got this massive beast charged up finally. Why would you want to get rid of all the energy? I don't know, guys. I'm thinking people are going to really go for Wishy-Washy GX because of the HP. And I'm telling you, because of that, it's probably going to be kind of high priced. And I'm saying sell or trade. I really just, Lapras GX is so much better if you want to do water. Why would you do Wishy-Washy? And then I've already told you about the potential of Alolan Ninetales GX. I think that could be a deck played a little differently. I just don't see the point of Wishy-Washy GX. So I say sell it, trade it, get rid of it. Alright, moving right on. Sorry, I spent a lot of time on Wishy-Washy, but I just don't get it. Alolan Geodude, he's a lightning type. He goes to Graveler and then Golem. Electro Rock Wrecker, 80 damage. Flip a coin for each lightning energy attached to this Pokemon, and this attack does 80 damage times the number of heads. It's a coin flip. Heavy Bomber, 200 damage minus. Does 30 less damage times the amount and the retreat cost of your opponent's active. Going against something that has a really low retreat cost, you're going to just destroy it. If it's got a really high retreat cost, you ain't doing nothing to it. So, Alolan Geodude and Alolan Golem. Bulk, baby. Put it in your bulk. Now, here's a card that doesn't need to go in your bulk. Matter of fact, this is a buy. A heavy buy right here, and that is Garbodor. Garbodor is already seeing play, but Garbodor has always been a support Pokemon. He's been trash. He's always never got the elite status that he deserved until now. This Garbodor is pretty cool, I think. And I could see it, that Trevenant that we talked about earlier that was the grass type, I could see you playing Garbodor in that deck even. Because that Trevenant is based on the number of trainer cards in your hand. Trash Avalanche, for 1 psychic energy, this attack does 20 damage times the number of item cards in your opponent's discard pile. Oh my goodness. Oh, Volcanion. Guess what? You want to go through 4 max elixirs and 2 escape ropes and 2 energy retrievals, and you've got VS Seekers, and you've got turn 1, you've got 10 items in your discard pile. Oh, well, that's okay. I'm going to just bring Garbodor up and smack your Volcanion EX for a knockout on turn, well, I mean turn 2, or I can Wally into it and do it. That's okay. Play those item cards because I've got Garbodor. I really think Psychic's got some really unique stuff coming up. I think Garbodor can probably see tech play now, but I could even see a deck based around Garbodor, or at least maybe him being a secondary attacker with something else. So is this Garbodor good? Yeah, absolutely. I think you should buy it. Mimikyu is next. Alright, its first attack is Pilfer, draw 2 cards for a colorless. And then its second attack is kind of intriguing, but I'm kind of disappointed at the same time. Mimic. We knew Mimikyu is a mimic. He likes to just mimic other Pokemon, right? So if your opponent used an attack during his or her last turn, use that attack as this attack. Unfortunately, it does not include GX attacks. If it did, I think Mimikyu could potentially see some play, but I don't think it's going to see any play. Uh, Maybe an expanded, because if you could use Dimension Valley, and they use an attack like, let's say you're playing against Mega Ray, and they just smack you for a bunch, and then you can just smack them back for a bunch if you can get a big bench, or I don't know, or even Volcanion, they hit you for 130, you can hit them back for 130 for just a psychic energy. I could see that, and it's a one prize attacker. But if it could use the GX attacks, I think that would even be better. It can't. So I don't know. I think that's probably going to see bulk. It could potentially see some play, but I think it's going to go, I think, mostly bulk. Delmise. This is a very intriguing card. Mostly metal types have always been where they play more of a defensive role, where they have some kind of metal, shield energy that protects them. But now with Delmise, it's got an ability. It's a psychic type. It's got an ability called Metallurgy. As long as this Pokemon is in play, each of your metal Pokemon's attacks do 10 more damage to the opponent's active Pokemon. This would be cool if we didn't have Solgaleo already. Solgaleo has 230 attack with Sunsteel Strike. Why in the world do you need Delmise? It's kind of like, why would I mean, if I want to hit 250 to knock out a Wailord, or a GX that has 250 damage, 250 HP, then all I need to do is Kukui. So unless this gets teamed up with some kind of, like, what if there was a Seismitoad GX, but instead of it being Seismitoad, let's say it was Genesect GX, and for a metal and a colorless does 30 damage, but it's like a quaking punch and shuts off items. Well, then Delmise would be awesome. I'd put 4 of those bad boys right on my bench, because then I'd be quaking punching for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Add in a choice band, and now I'm quaking punching for, 100. So if there came out a card like that, where it was just very minimal energy was required, and it did some kind of controlling, then I could see Delmise seeing play. But until then, Solgaleo is going to rule metal, and it's just going to Sunseal Strike for 230. So why do you need the buffs? All right. So Delmise, I probably put it as a sell. Some people might find it valuable, so you might be able to get some value out of it. Trade it. Tapu Lele GX, if you haven't heard about this card, this is going to be the next Shaman. I'm pretty sure this is probably going to hit $30 each pretty quickly. If you happen to pull one, hold on to it, because it will be the meta for the next 2 years. Wonder Touch has an ability that the old Jirachi EX had. Once during your turn before your attack, when you play this card from your hand onto your bench, you may search your deck for a supporter card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. Alright. After Shaman rotates in 6 months, this will be the new Shaman. People will be playing one or two of these in their deck. Every deck will probably have one or two. This is where I talked about why Psychic, I think, will be so much stronger. See, Wobbuffet's going to shut off abilities. So Tapalele, you could play it in a deck with Wobbuffet, shut off all their abilities, and still use Wonder Touch. And so Wobbuffet with maybe something like I don't know, Mewtwo, or even if you wanted to go spicy and go with Lunala GX. I mean, I just think Psychic's really got a lot of stuff going for it right now. Furthermore, they took Jirachi EX and they combined it with Lugia EX, I'm sorry, and gave it an attack energy drive. Does 20 damage times the number of energy attached to both active Pokemon. So now, Jirachi EX was always just a bench sitter. It never saw attack. Matter of fact, it was always a liability on your bench. This thing has 170 HP. It has a decent attack for a double colorless. You can be hitting, and if they've got a lot of energy, you could be hitting pretty hard, or you can load up on the energy on it. So it's got dual purpose here. And then furthermore, it's Kappa Cure GX attack. Restore all HP to 2 of your bench Pokemon. I mean, it's got basically a double max potion built in. I mean, that's just amazing. Get this card, guys. Get it now. I mean, when it comes out, get it. I don't usually pre-buy stuff, but this is one you might want to even consider pre-buying, even if you have to pay a little bit of a premium, because when people find out how good it is, it's going to just go up like Shaman's did. Alright, Gligar and Gliscor, those guys also are just going to be bulk. I wouldn't even worry about them. Guillotine 50. This finishing needle seems kind of neat, but if they don't have any damage counters on it, then it does nothing. I guess it could potentially be seen with 70 damage for 1 energy, but you're going to want to run grass, so if you do that, you're going to have to run either rainbow or run some fighting, and it just doesn't really fit well with Decidueye, so I think that's bulk. Pancham and Pangoro is a dark type, which we'll get to, but again, that's just going to be bulk. Rockruff and Lycanroc GX. Now this Lycanroc I think the other Lycanroc GX is better, but this one we'll see play because of its ability. Because Lysander is going to rotate in 6 months. So this is a definite hold. If you get this card, don't trade it away, hold it. Because when Lysander leaves, this card will probably be seeing quite a bit of play. If nothing, even if it is never used for its attack, it'll be used for its ability, Bloody Eye. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active Pokemon. And its attacks, not terrible. Fighting in a double colors is 110 damage. Not too bad. I mean, you could 2-shot stuff. You can put it with Evolutions and 1-shot stuff. So it's still, within the realm of possibility to be used as its own archetype deck too. Death Rogue, 50 damage times the number of opponents' bench Pokemon. So you're gonna 1-shot Mega Ray pretty easily because they're gonna have a big bench. So that kind of stuff. You could still make a deck out of that Lycanroc. So yeah, I think that's a definite hold. If you get it, hold it. Meteor Swift does 28 damage. This attack's damage isn't affected by weakness, resistance, or any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So you can get through just about anything for 20 damage. And then for 3 fighting, Cosmoplosion, 190 damage. And then this Pokemon is knocked out. Look, here's the thing. That 190 damage is really great, but you're putting it on a glass cannon. And that thing, before you can get it charged up, is going to get knocked out. They're going to see you putting energy on it at the back, in the back. And they're going to be like, I better knock that thing out before it destroys me. So I got to just say it's bulk. Just put it in your bulk box. Murkrow and Honchkrow, more bulk. Sableye. Okay, now this is a card that's been getting a lot of talk. Is it good? Is it bad? Some people saying, yeah, it's good. Some people saying it's bad. My take is, I think it's a buy. I think you need to get this card. If nothing else, think of it this way. Okay, limitation. This is why people love it or hate it. Your opponent can't play support a card from their hand during their next turn. All right. If I hit you with a limitation, you can't play a Sycamore. You can't play a Hexmaniac. You can't play a Lysander. You can't play any supporter card. And we all know supporter cards are the lifeblood, especially at the beginning of the game. So if I can take time to be getting set up, and you can't really, you're limited to what you can do, limitation, then I'm going to have an advantage, right? So it makes sense to play this card. Now, does it do any damage? No. So, if you wanted to, the other thing that people are talking about is putting it in Decidueye Vileplume. I don't know if you even need Vileplume, to be honest with you. I think if you just play Sableye, Decidueye, Double Eyes, I think you'll probably have a really good deck just in those two cards. Because Decidueye is going to be doing the damage anyway. And believe me, if you get 3 Decidueyes on your bench, 60 damage anywhere you want it every single turn is going to be super awesome. And even if they do knock out a Sableye or two, even if they do that, they're not going to be able to play any supporters. So, okay, great. They get to use their item cards, but they don't get to use any supporters in their hand. So eventually their item cards are going to run out. They're going to be stuck with 4 or 5 supporters in their hand and nothing to do with it, be able to do with it. So, and think about VS Seekers. Those are all going to be worthless too. There's 4 items that are going to be dead in their deck also. So Sableye, I don't even think needs Vileplume, to be honest with you. I think you could just play Sableye, Decidueye, and after a while, eventually once you got your Decidueye set up, you can just move them in for an attack. The next one is Pangoro, Bulk. Alright, and then the next one is Metagross GX. Now, I'm not really sure how I feel about this. I could potentially see it seeing some play, but I basically, when I look at metal Pokemon now, I compare everything to Solgaleo, and the real question is why use Metagross GX when I can use Solgaleo GX? Now, Metagross does have an interesting ability. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may attach either a Psychic or a Metal Energy from your discard pile to your active Pokemon. And it does stack. So if you could get 2 or 3 of these out, these stage 2s out, you're going to be able to get 2 or 3 energies out of the discard pile every turn. It's kind of like Bronzong if you think about it, but you can even use it with Psychic. The problem is the stage 2. Bronzongs were stage 1. The stage 2, getting a stage 2 out, getting multiples of them out to be able to power up whatever you want to power up, just seems like a lot of work. Now, the one Pokemon that I could see this working with, that I could put, and this is why I'm not putting this as a sell, I'm putting it as a hold slash sell. If you don't want them, go ahead and get rid of them. Okay. Potentially, it could work with Genesect EX because Genesect EX, the more energy that's on it, the more powerful it becomes. And you can use max elixirs to kind of get them started while you're getting the Metagross GXs set up. And so potentially you could just keep respamming attacks from Genesect EX over and over and over and over again with the Geotech system. As far as the attack, I just don't really love it. I mean, Giga Hammer does 150 damage for 2 metals and a colorless. This Pokemon can't use Giga Hammer though next turn. So 150 damage. You don't want to pair this with Solgaleo because Solgaleo is a stage 2 also. So, and you don't really have a way to get it out of the active unless you have a Float Stone or Escape Rope or Switch or something like that. Or I guess you could retreat the energies. Algorithm GX, search your deck for up to 5 cards and put them into your hand. That's okay too, but you're going to just get end back. Those are going to get end out. Now, this is why it might be a hold though. After end rotates, but that's, I think, another whole year down the road. This could see play. So if you want to hold these for a year and a half, be my guest. But the only deck I can see it in right now is Genesect EX. Now maybe someone comes along and breaks the format and shows us how good Metagross GX is. My opinion though, it's probably on the weaker side. I love the fact that it's 250 HP. That's great. But I just don't see how useful it can be, you know. Alright, let's keep moving on. We've still gone quite a ways and I've waxed long on some of these, but that's probably needed. Alright, Cottony. Oh, went a little too far. Cottony and Whimsicott, I think they're just bulk. Yeah, Whimsicott does overabundance of fuzz. If the defending Pokemon is knocked out during your next turn, take 2 additional prizes. You just don't want to use an attack to do that. I mean, in the meantime, I could have taken 2 knockouts and gotten 2 already anyway. So, Whimsicott is bulk. Goodra here, it's bulk. Power Whip, this attack does 20 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon times the number of energy attached to this Pokemon. So, you know, you could snipe a lot of energy on this. You could snipe from a distance. Beat Slider does 130 damage. But it's, again, stage 2. It's just, I don't think it's worth it. So that goes bulk. Cast Form. Forecast, choose up to 2 stadiums from your deck, reveal them, and put them in your hand. That's kind of cool. I was going to say bulk, but this might be a card you could hold one of, no more than one, just in case you needed it for a tech in a deck that really needed stadiums. It was very important for your stadiums. But other than that, I wouldn't use it. Patrat and Watchog, more bulk. Look at the top 2 cards from your opponent's deck and discard one, return the other. I mean, it seems like it could be a mill deck, but why would you want to use mill that way? I mean, you want to be milling more than just one card. Fletchling, Fletchender, Talonflame. I looked at this card at first and I thought, this might have potential. Because it's quite interesting. Right now, if you think about it, there is a Talonflame that's seeing a lot of play, or a moderate amount of play. Greninja's kind of died down, but Talonflame is still seeing play in some decks like the EVs, Evolutions, and I've even seen it in like Solgaleo, Lunala that's combined, where you're just playing 4 Talonflames and 4 Cosmog. And that's the Talonflame that has the ability to allow you to put it in the active if you get it in your opening hand. However, Talonflame Break hasn't seen a lot of play. Very little, just in some few videos of people just having casual fun with it. And then I was like, well, this Talonflame is kind of cool. But then you would always want to use the other Talonflame if you were ever going to do Talonflame Break. And that would really be the only time you would do this Talonflame, is if you were going to try to pull off a Talonflame Break deck, right? So Nitro Charge does 30 damage, and then search your deck for a fire energy and attach it to this Pokemon. So you can kind of see it's trying to use the fire synergy with Talonflame Break, because Talonflame breaks fire. But again, you wouldn't want to use this Talonflame. You'd want to use the other one so that you could potentially start with a Talonflame right there in the active. And then Aerial Loop really got me. I'm like, man, this would be really cool. You know, put a double colorless on, do 90 damage, and then put the energy back in your hand. It's better than Shaman Sky Return, you know? But 90 damage really is not that great. I mean, it's decent, and you don't lose the energy. But again, how are you going to get this Talonflame out? You got to evolve it. And so then when I started thinking about it, it's just not that good. So Talonflame Break. Talonflame, I'm sorry, is bulk. Alright, let's talk about some item cards, and I think we'll be done. One thing I should point out to you is that the strengthening expansion set had Sylveon GX, had Drampa GX, and had Toxapex GX, and seems like there was one more GX in there. And I'll give you kind of what I think the buys and sells on that, but I'm not going to look at those cards tonight just because they're not in a easy to find place. So I mean, Bulbapedia has them, but it's just not that great, and my computer's kind of acting up. So let's take a look at these trainers and see. And again, like I mentioned before, I think you should probably get all the trainers, even if they don't look that great. Aqua Patch, that's a definite buy, and you want to get more than a play set. Probably you probably want to get I would think 2 play sets of Aqua Patch, just because someone's going to want to trade for them, and they are probably early on, they may be real cheap. They may only be 25, 50 cents, but I guarantee you couple sets from now, they're going to be just like Max Elixirs. They're going to jump up to about $5 each. And so if you get, 8 to 10 of them now, you can turn around and trade them or sell them for a big, big profit. So Aqua Patch, get them, buy them, buy, 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 buy. Rescue Stretcher. Now this one, on the other hand, this is kind of a new little card. Choose one Pokemon from your discard pile and put it into your hand, or choose 3 Pokemon and shuffle them into your deck. This has some playability because it will replace Buddy Buddy Rescue. Anybody that uses Buddy Buddy Rescue, like Gyarados decks, will replace Buddy Buddy Rescue with this. This is just a better Buddy Buddy Rescue. You don't give your opponent the opportunity to grab a Shaman out of the discard pile and set up and get back into the game. But it also has the added bonus that you can put 3 it's kind of like a Super Rod and a Buddy Buddy Rescue put together, but only for Pokemon, no energy. So it's kind of cool. I think it'll see some play. Probably not a lot. In the decks it's in, it's probably maybe just a 1 or 2 of, save for Gyarados, which I think runs 4 Buddy Buddy Rescues. Mallow. Choose 2 cards from your deck and shuffle the rest of your deck. Put the chosen cards on top of your deck in any order. Now, I think a lot of people think this card is good because it's a reprint of an older card. However, I don't really have a sense of how Pokemon played in the past, so I'm gonna just take other people's word for it that this is a good supporter card. To me, it doesn't seem all that great. Um, because it seems like you could just end and they could just shuffle your deck and you wasted your supporter. Um, unless there's a way to get those two cards right off the bat, maybe with a Shaman or with a Rangaroo or with the a Alolan Sandshrew that we talked about. Those are all possibilities. In that case, then yeah, it makes Mallow makes perfect sense. But other than that, unless you can't, if you can't get those cards off the top of your deck, then it just, I don't see why you would play it. So, um, maybe you could use Acrobike. Get one card that you want to keep, and the other one that you definitely want to discard, like a Water Energy. You get an Aqua Patch and a Water Energy, and then play Acrobike. Put the Water Energy in the discard pile, and then use the Aqua Patch to put it in it. That's a cool combo. I could see that being used, but is that really worth using your supporter over? I don't know. But nonetheless, I think you should get a playset of Mallow. Hilltop Stream. I think this is a card that hasn't been, not too many people have seen uh, or even know about this one. This one's kind of flown under the radar, but I think it has potential. It's only going to be in water or fighting decks. Once during his or her turn, each player may search his or her deck for either a water or a fighting basic Pokemon and put it on your bench. That's pretty cool because now you've got draw, even if you don't have, if your item lock, you can still draw a basic. That's really cool. I mean, think about it. You can get a Zygarde EX, 190 HP Pokemon. Or if you're building like an evolutions, like let's say you wanted to use that Machoke. So you get Machop and you got Machoke in your hand, next turn, boom, and Decidueye can't hurt your bench Pokemon. So, I think this is cool. And then don't even forget about Wishy Washy GX or Lapras GX. Oh my goodness, Lapras GX. Now, right now, Rough Seas is probably going to be more important. You're going to probably use that more. But it is going to rotate in 6 months. And this seems like a perfectly good stadium for both fighting and water types. So I think it's a definite buy. I think you need to get a play set of these just in case sometime in the future you want to build a fighting. With that being said, I think that's all that we have in this leaked portion. Like I said, there was some strength expansion set that had a few other GXs. Let's talk about them. Sylveon GX, I think, is a buy. I think all the evolutions are really, really good, and Sylveon is no different. So buy Sylveon GX. Drampa GX. I gotta say, I think it's a sell. I don't see it being the next Shaman. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, it's GX attack. It'll let you put 10 cards in your hand. Wow. But you're having to use your attack. And you're having to use your GX attack to be able to do that. I don't, I mean, maybe at the early game it would be useful, but people are just going to end you back down to 6 anyway. So I just don't see Drampa. And his other two attacks aren't that great either. Um, Toxapex GX. That one has got me a little stumped. I want to put that as a hold right now. I think that's a card that could see play. And remember, I told you, Psychics, I think down the road you're going to see a resurgence in Psychic decks. And I think Toxapex may fit that. One of those cool little decks that most people aren't going to be aware of come out and hit people without them even knowing about it. So yes, Toxapex GX I think is a hold. If you get it, hold it. Drampa, Toxapex. Oh, Vikavolt GX. I think that's a sell. Um, it's a stage 2. I think it's got 240 HP. 50 damage for lightning energy, and then you get to put 1 energy from your deck onto him. But then his next attack takes 4 energies to be able to do like 150. Anytime you have to get 4 energies on something, other than double colorless, 4 colorless, it just usually is not worth it. So with that being said, I'm calling that a sell. Sell Vikavolt GX. I think there's also a couple stadiums and a couple other cards like Altar of the Moon and Altar of the Sun. I think Altar of the Sun, again, pardon me, I think Altar of the Sun is probably not going to see much play, but because it's get it. Altar of the Moon, again, I don't know why, but everything points to Psychic being strong. Not now, but down the road. I mean, Mega Mewtwo is good right now, but I think it's going to even get better down the road. I think Altar of the Moon is going to be one of those cards that's going to help. And that allows your Psychic types with a Psychic energy on it have 2 less retreat. So that's gonna help a lot for Psychics. I think that's all I have. Choice Band was in there. We've already talked about Choice Band. That's a buy. I think there was a couple other cards like Multi-Switch, which allows you to actually switch from your bench to your active. I think any kind of energy, so it could be even a special energy. It's kind of like a normal energy switch, but it allows you to do it with special energies. That might see play in some kind of deck, but not every deck will play that. So, and again, those are all trainers, so I think you should get those. Choice Band is kind of like Aqua Patch. You should probably get a couple play sets of them because they probably will go up in price. Remember, Muscle Band went up to about $5 or $6 each. Choice Band will probably see $5 or $6 for an uncommon card. So, anyway, guys, that's all I have for you. I hope you enjoyed it. I kind of tried to do it a little different. It still ended up being super long, but I tell you, I had a lot of fun doing this one, and I hope it gives you an idea of what cards to get in the set, what to keep an eye out for, and what to kind of avoid. Anyway, this is Pokedad signing off. Hit like, subscribe, and comment below for me. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.